budget ena kapa ditekanyetso tsena o tlhalose hore na o phisa hobane ha ke di sheba letona laka dire 1 ho tamela ho lokiswa dibakeng tsa rona tsa maAfrika tsa batho ba batsho jwale ha ke ema mo ke re ke kgahlanong le ntho eo ka mantswe a mang ke batla ho bolela hore nakong ya ho feta e ne e lokile motsamaisi wa dipuisano mona mo ke leng teng ke kgathetse ke ntho ya hore ke bolello hore ha o batla ho tseba hore na go kae mo sebetswang hantle teng o fetele mane Western Cape ke a bua taba e hobane ba bangata ba rona Western Cape kapa Cape Town a re itsebe ha re soka re ba le monyetla o fitla mo e re go bolelle mme wa ka ha o fitla mo o tla fumantsha hore ha o kena ka ra tropo o bo ya le ke la ka ba le monyetla hore ke fitla langa le kukulethu ha ke fitla mono ho hobe ho senyeile wa tsabeya jwale e kae ntwena ya hore o tsamaya le rona o fetola maemo a bo batho ba bo rona ha e se fela go ba sebedisa hore o fihlelle ditakatso le ditabatabelo tsa hao me ha fitla motho a fitla re ke tla lokisa sebaka sa habo lona re bua ntla ena re sa kgethe ebile re sa lobe letho ha o tseba hore o tla lokisa sebaka sa habo rona ha o tseba hore o tla nka moruo o ise bathong ba bo rona nako e kaofela o hlotswe ke eng hore o etse ntho o lokise dibaka tsa bo rona mme ha motho a etla ba feta re tla etsa letona laka o tswela pele morena jwalo ka o so entse ditekanyetso ke bone ebile ke dumellana le tsona ditaba tsena tsa hore makeisheneng mo re phelang teng setjhaba sa bo rona ho be le bohlweki ho bonahale hore ke dibaka tseo re phelang ho tsona mme ke tla ipiletsa le rona setjhaba sa maAfrika ka wena motsamaisi wa dipuisano hore ha re se re hlwekisitse re ke re buisaneng le rona re le batho hore skare ha o tlisitswe matlakala moo ebe wa kgutla o lo lahlela hona moo hape le wena lokisa sebaka seo go sebe maemong hobane ha sebaka se le maemong a lokileng se etsa ntho ene re bitsang ka hore se hohela matsete ena taba ke batla ho ama hore ke ya tse dintho tse re tlameleng re eme ha ntse re leka ho lokisa moruo hore o ye bathong tsa tse dintho tse sidisang ke tsona tsena tsa hore re se ke ranka kapa dibaka tsa rona mo re dulang teng di dule di hlwekile ke ananela taba ena ya recycle ya hore ho sejediswe ditaba tsa hore ha ona le dintho ska di lahla fela ho etswe ntho re bitsang ka hore ke recycle ke ananela letona la ka hore ke yona ntho e etsang hore batho ba bo rona tlasa bothata bona ba tlhokeho ya mosebetsi le bona ho be le seo ba se etsang ba kgone hore ba ka kgona ho phela le malapa a bona jwalo ka o so boletse dibaka tsa boikgathollo tse teng ka hara sebaka sa bo rona le tsona o di shebile mme ke a dumela haholo hore ya tse ding tse o beileng leihlo le ntjotjo ke dibaka tsena tsa difeme tse senang kgathallo e kalo mme o itse atjhe ke tla kena moo ke yo lokisa ditaba tseo jwalo ka o boletse dibaka bo botshabele bo thabantshu bo qwaqwa jwalo mme ditaba tsena ke nahana hore ke ditaba tse shebaneng le setjhaba sa bo rona ho leka ho fetola maphelo a bona hona le sebaka sa ikukele hore ho shejwe kae wa shejwa kae hore tle re ha o tswa mona o mathe le wena o kgona ho kenya ska lebella hore ho hlae motho yo mong ka thoko a tlo etsa mosebetsi wena ema ka maoto etse mosebetsi puso e o fa sebaka sa hore budget ke ena ditekanyetso ke tsena re di bea mona le mona jwale e be setjhaba sa bo rona se mathang moo hore se etelle pele mara ha o kena moo re ipiletse ka matsatsi ohle ska kena o etsa ntho ena hore wena o batla ho ja ka pelenyana e ra o qeta ho ja bo tswa o tsamaya. Thusa setjhaba sa bo rona hore se kgone hore se fumane bophelo bo nepahetseng. Jwale letona la ka le Kgabane ke dumellana le wena ka ditekanyetso tseo di entseng ha o tla ntlheng yane ya ditsamaiso tsa administration, ha o tla dintlheng tsa tikoloho tsa bophelo dibakeng tseo re phelang ho tsona. Ke dumellana le wena ka hore o nke ditekanyetso tse itseng o di kenye ho batjha le batho ba baholo ba batlang ho qala di-business. Ke dumellana le taba eo hobane re batla hore moruo o kgutlele setjhabeng sa bo rona. So ke ntho ya bohlokwa eno eo bang o e entse. Ya bone o e entseng ke ena hore ditekanyetso o di sitse hape ntlheng ena ya bohahlaudi ka hara province ya Kroonstad ka sejatlhapi re bitsa ka hore ke tourism. So re dumellana le yona taba eo hore ditekanyetso tsa hao ha o ya o lebile ntlheng eo di arabela ntlheng yane e buang ke Freedom Charter ya hore the people shall share in the wealth of this country. So di isa teng hore re kgone ho tswela pele. Ka mantswe ao ke batla ho bontsha hore sebui se seng sila ka sa bua sa re philosophers have interpreted the world. The challenge, however, is how to change it. Jale banna bana ba tla dula ba hana ha re nka ditekanyetso re di shebisa ho setjhaba sa bo rona. Ke bua ka bana ka ba lehlakoreng la ka le letshehadi. Hobane ntate, hobane ha o ka sheba o tla fumantsha hore ke bua fela ke lekanyetsa. Ha o ka nka lesapo wa le fanja go tla ba thata hore o ka nka lesapo le mo medleng teng. Mme ke diphephetso tse re di shebileng. Jwale ke re wena he letona la ka le Kgabane tswela pele ka sekgowa ke re backward never forward forever. Tswela pele fela o etse jwalo. Ha ke qetella motsamaisi wa dipuisano ke re ke a leboha mme re ananela ditekanyetso tsa letona. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Honorable Jangleson.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. I just want to confirm with Honourable Klute
Order.
that when I taught political ideology at the University of the Free State, the Honourable MEC Meko was not one of my students. So don't quote Marx and think it's my responsibility. Honourable Speaker, it's befitting that we should discuss issues relating to development and specifically the economy here in the DA-run Fizile Derby district. Honourable Speaker, Kroonstad is a town with much potential, as is the whole municipality and the district. We have wonderful residents here and a great deal of political and economic potential as the N1 gateway between the Free State and South Africa's economic hub in Gauteng. We would once again like to congratulate the residents of Kroonstad who rolled up their sleeves in the absence of a municipality to get things done and allowed Kroonstad to win the Kwela Town of the Year award in 2022. Congratulations. But while we gathered here in Kroonstad, the residents of Viljoenskroon, Kroonstad, Steynsrus, and other towns across the Free State are dying on our roads and are drowning in sewage. Yesterday I traveled on the road between Bethlehem and Kroonstad, and I also have had reports that people have died on the road between Steynsrus and Kroonstad, and the road between Bethlehem and Lindley is deteriorating fast. The road between Edenville and Heilbron is just as deadly, and it's not just killing our people, it's also killing our local economies in the Free State. Honourable Speaker, since we're here in Kroonstad, I want to repeat a story that I told previously in this legislature. 12 years ago, the former MEC for the Department of Economic Development, Tourism and Environmental Affairs, who is the current Premier, and I see he's fled the hall, announced the Unicore project in his budget speech in 2011. He stated, and I want to quote, that this project would be a 35 million investment of a huge high-tech medical supplies manufacturing facility in Kroonstad. Yeah. This establishment is set to provide 300 jobs once it is fully operational. This project is a pilot for other manufacturing enterprises to set up in Parijs and Sasolburg, which will ultimately form part of the Free State manufacturing triangle. I close quote. Together with our current Premier, our former Premier Ace Magashule later also announced that this is one of his Operation Tlasela projects. Speaker, where is this promised project today? Where are the 300 jobs that were promised through this project? Where's the 10 million that was invested in this project by the Free State Development Corporation? Speaker, in a reply to a question to the former MEC of Fortescue in this legislature, I was informed that the Unicore loan was a so-called soft loan. Soft loan. While I'm still trying to figure out what this so-called soft loan means in practice, on the ground, no manufacturing facility was ever established, and with the time that is lapsed, I'm sure that it is improbable that the FDC will ever get this 10 million that was invested year back. That money mysteriously disappeared. And that's one thing the ANC are good at, and that is making money mysteriously disappear. Perhaps now that the former MEC, who is now Premier, and the former chair of the committee in which I previously raised this issue, and is now the steer MEC, would like to follow this up and see if they can retrieve this money that mysteriously disappeared. If the people of this district still believe that the ANC can deliver them or their children jobs or anything else except poverty and deprivation, then you are victims of your own electoral choices. Voters should know by now that the day after the elections, the food parcels disappear like the 10 million rand, along with all those empty promises, the 300 jobs, etc. They all disappear after the election. And then you sit for another 5 years in poverty and desperation. The ANC will never deliver the jobs, especially under an ANC government in the Free State. In this respect, it's important, Honourable Speaker, to note that in the last quarter of 2022, in South Africa, 169,000 new jobs were created. Of the 169,000 new jobs, a staggering 167,000 were created in the DA-run Western Cape. And most of those jobs went to poor black people who are fleeing from other provinces into the Western Cape. Only 2,000 were created in all the other 8 provinces during that time. In Freedom Month, Honourable Speaker, we have to ask which party in government is delivering economic freedom in South Africa through jobs, and who brags about creating further dependency. Why do millions of unemployed people in 8 other provinces have to share 2,000 new jobs? The answer is simple: because the majority of them voted for the ANC. You see, in a democracy, you get what you vote for and you deserve what you vote for. Speaker, with our resources and relatively small population, over 60% of our people in the Free State should not be living in poverty. The Department of Destia should set an example of
Jangleson,
sound
please
business
pause.
practices.
Please pause. I just want to establish if there is a point of order. Honorable MEC Mahlatsi.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I just wanted to find out if Honorable Jackelson is willing to take a question.
Honorable Jangleson, are you willing to take that question?
Honorable Speaker, I don't have the time to take a question, and I didn't bring my crayons along so that I can answer that question. Honorable Speaker,
Honorable Jangleson, I needed a yes or no, not further comments.
I thought you deduced that's a no, Honorable Speaker, but no.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Proceed.
Honorable Speaker, sadly, the Auditor General's report for this department published in their 2021-2022 annual report indicates that the department incurred irregular expenditure of 3.7 million rand and fruitless and wasteful expenditure of 439,000 rand due to payments made to service providers for goods and services that were not rendered. There is also no evidence of any disciplinary steps taken against officials who were responsible for this irregular expenditure. Furthermore, many assets of the department belonging to the people of the Free State were not safeguarded as required by Treasury regulations. The Auditor General's qualified audit opinion was based on the following statement, and I quote, "Management did not prepare regular, accurate and complete financial reports that are supported by evidence and reliable information." Close quote. The Free State Development Corporation that falls under this department had an even more devastating Auditor General report with irregular expenditure of a staggering 19.2 million rand due to non-compliance with supply chain requirements and fruitless and wasteful expenditure of 46 million rand, mainly due to interest payments and overdue accounts. Honourable Speaker, the Auditor General said this entity failed dismally in its vision to be the leading catalyst for economic growth and development in the Free State province, and a mission to facilitate and promote investments, provide financial and non-financial services to SMMEs, continue with radical economic transformation, and develop and manage properties and businesses also failed dismally. Its intentions to improve economic growth, create sustainable jobs, and increase private sector investments have failed because of the transactions of, among others, the Unicore projects, and there are many others besides that. Honourable Speaker, the manufacturing sector in the Free State is greatly underutilised. We have various factories in places like Tabanshu, Botshabelo, and Kwakwa that have become redundant. These areas also have the largest concentrations of unemployed people in the province. This infrastructure, along with the Pakisa racetrack, should be privatized so that the private sector can revive and reignite these economies. Let us rather use our provincial funds to fix our roads, infrastructure and services so that investors can transport goods and services in and out of the province and at the same time create jobs for our people. Capitalism 101. Honourable Speaker, institutions and entities in the Free State that are responsible for both tourism and the promotion of the province and nation must be restructured and streamlined towards this common purpose. For this reason, as also mentioned by Honourable Van Vieren in his budget debate at Garib, or in the legislature after Garib, we need in the Free State a Free State Economic Development Agency, FSEDA. Such an agency will cut red tape for investors and merge national and international investment initiatives and promotion in trade, investment, and tourism into a single entity. The FSEDA will have a small staff component with support from the provincial government through a process of incentivized targets linked to timeframes in terms of investment and job creation in the province. International precedent shows that economic development strategies are best implemented by an agency and people who have real business expertise. Speaker, the Maluti-Apofung Special Economic Zone is struggling along with a collapsed municipality. In this respect, we must remember that the zone is only part of the equation that attracts investors. The investors and their staff require basic services such as water and electricity, as well as access to schools, hospitals, modern retail stores, entertainment, and various other amenities and facilities. We've just heard this week, which my colleagues from the right didn't mention, that another factory has closed there and 82 jobs have been shed in that special economic zone. The Maluti-Apofung municipality and even Matjhabeng, that has huge economic growth potential with its growing gas industry, like other municipalities in the Free State, suffer under the same burdens of the disintegration of basic services and infrastructure that are characteristics of ANC-run municipalities across the Free State and the country. Economic development takes place in municipalities. We can talk about it at provincial level, but at the end of the day, the tires hit the tar within a municipality. And if a municipality cannot supply water, electricity, roads, infrastructure, and other services, who will invest in that municipality? Honourable Speaker, yesterday I visited a little town here called Koppies. And I told them during a meeting there that I will discuss some of their issues during this debate today. The roads infrastructure there, both municipal and provincial, is killing that small town's economy. There's a mill there that created a lot of jobs for people, but they are losing 200,000 rand a day because of load shedding, not only because of national load shedding, but also local load shedding by that municipality. They lose 3 tons of maize that should be milled per hour. And there are trucks there from Zimbabwe and Zambia waiting for maize that should be exported and creating income from that town and for our province. Honourable Speaker, the small businesses at Weltevrede, Rooipoort, Weiveld, small holdings, told us that they cannot survive with the poor municipal services and the provincial services that they're getting. They're chicken industries, and you need heat for chickens in winter, are dying because there's no electricity to supply the heat. The roads that lead to those small holdings have collapsed. People don't want to drive backwards and forwards. The local electricity grid, where the poles are lying on the ground, is also part of the problems that they experience there. Honourable Speaker, and I'm going to mention the Democratic Alliance run Western Cape again when we deal with load shedding, and only because our MEC
Honourable
failed
members,
to
you are
talk.
out of order.
Our MEC failed to talk about one of the most important issues facing the economy of this province and the country, and that is load shedding. Only the DA-run Western Cape has an emergency plan in place to deal with a possible total electricity grid collapse. This plan includes the distribution, listen to this, 100,000 load shedding kits to indigent households to indigent households at a cost of 60 million rand, solar panel installation at 100 schools, 89 million rand for backup generators for water and sewage systems in the province, and 1.1 billion energy independence promotion plan. The DA-run city of Cape Town is set to become the first load-shedding free city in South Africa. The city has secured assistance from the C40 Global Assistance Network for 2 major projects, one that includes the construction of a 1.2 billion solar plant at Paardevlei. The people of the Free State do not have to wish for a DA-run government that does this for them. They only have to vote for it next year. It's as simple as that. The DA doesn't wait for the total collapse and then say, "Ish, comrade, Jan van Riebeeck caused this." No, in DA-run province, things get done. Speaker, there's also huge untapped potential within the recycling industry in South Africa and the Free State. This has become a very lucrative industry abroad that provides opportunity for many individuals. This and many other potential industries are there for the taking in the Free State. We must just have the political will to use those opportunities, use our people, and use the centrality of our province to create economic growth and employment for our
Honourable
people.
MEC Mahlatsi.
Thank you.
Aye, order. Honorable MEC Maka, you may address the House.
Honorable Speaker, Honorable Deputy Speaker, Honorable Premier, members of my colleagues in the Executive Council, members of the Legislature, and NCOP representatives, House of Traditional Leaders, business formations, heads of departments, senior managers from all the spheres of government, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, and the people of the Free State. Honorable Speaker, the people of the Free State, like many other South Africans, have for many decades been subjected to the devastating conditions of poverty, inequality, and unemployment, which have been created deliberately through the brutal and heartless policies brought about by the colonizers who started to set their foot in this country in this month in 1652. On the same day of the 6th of April, which coincided with their arrival in 1979, they continued their mission of causing pain and sorrow to the black majority of this country by trying to silence one of the voices which stood firm against the inhuman tendencies of their regime when they were killing the gallant fighter Solomon Kalushi Mahlangu. However, they failed to realize that the killing of this gallant revolutionary was in no way going to assist them to silence the revolutionary spirit amongst the many majority of South Africans. It has been proven that an idea of freedom cannot and would never perish through the killing of a human being, because the idea of freedom is not embedded only in the flesh, but it is integral in the minds and spirits of the people. Indeed, you can kill and torture many warm bodies, but you cannot kill the idea and the revolutionary belief within them. In fact, the black majority of South Africa continued and are now enjoying the fruits of the tree of freedom, which has been nourished by the blood, sweat and sacrifices of the gallant fighters, among others, in Solomon Kalushi Matlangu, as he has said in his last words, and those that have selflessly committed their lives without fear of death. But, Honorable Speaker, before we come on some of the issues that Honorable Meko has indicated, we were invited by our colleagues who were on this podium before us to respond to some of the issues that they have raised. The first one, which is the last point by the latter speaker, he has indicated that you have said nothing around the energy. I'm here to assist him as a fellow member. I'll refer him to page 15 of your speech, which he has a copy of. Under 3.4, you have said, the heading is in bold, energy security as an enabler for investment. And you have articulated in 9 sentences what are your plans for such. One of those being that you said you are currently working with Petro SA to exploit the centrality of the Free State to use as a hub for bulk storage and distribution for various petroleum products. Now that I have assisted him to see where it is, he will read the rest. But the second issue, electricity is part of the energy for information.
Honorable members, look what you are doing. You are speaking while there is a speaker on the podium. The next thing he is responding to you instead of debating.
The honorable member has just made reference to some of the businesses in copies. And I can guarantee you, Honorable Speaker, those businesses are white because since I've been a member of this legislature, or since I knew Honorable Member being a member of this legislature, at no point I'm still waiting patiently so to hear him advocating for the rights, at least of even a single member from the township. He has never done that, to clearly demonstrate that he, whose agenda is he serving, which is the agenda of the whites-only businesses, and not for the majority of the people like the ANC is doing, serving everyone. The third issue, Honorable Member has invited us to go to Western Cape. The annual report of the same department in Western Cape, their annual report of 2021-2022, I'm going to quote, "The second matter of fruitless and wasteful expenditure relates in the DA-run department to the fraudulent disbursement of an official salary. The fraudulent event occurred within the salary administration at the highest office of the province, the Department of the Premier. So the fraud in Western Cape do not just occur anywhere else, but it starts right from the top in the Premier's office. As the expenditure was incurred against the department, the fruitless and wasteful expenditure of a whopping 63,000, which was so official."
And I mean to both sides, you do not have to respond. And these are not my rules. These are the rules of the House. Proceed, Honorable MEC.
On the irregular expenditure, the Auditor General in the 2020-2021 audit cycle has identified a case of irregular expenditure where less than 3 quotations were obtained for the procurement of goods and services. And the amount for the irregular expenditure on procurement in the prior year was a whopping 7.4 million rand, which, if you compare to the one that is quoted for the province, do not even compare, as the honorable member has indicated. So 7.4 million rand of the people that was supposed to go and serve the small businesses in Western Cape was misused by the DA Department of Economic Development in Western Cape, as reported, because there's a public information in your annual report. Now, for honorable member to come and say Western Cape is exemplary, I need to indicate that what honorable members have said that in Cape Town there are two worlds, the one for the rich and the one for the poor, and the services are skewed to those rich ones in town. It is not far-fetched, it is not baseless. The annual report of City of Cape Town, their municipality, the 2021-2022 say, because they always claim that they prioritize issues of crime, of ensuring that they fight against crime. In their report, and you must hear where they have deployed this additional law enforcement, with police services also being a mayoral priority program, budgetary provision, meaning this is where they are taking the money, was made to appoint 100 additional law enforcement officers. It becomes interesting here. All these officers have been appointed and will be deployed to Central Cape Town. 0 for Langa, 0 for Cape Flats, 0 for anywhere where our people are at. That is a DA for you. But Honorable Speaker, on the issue of the Unicom, we have volunteered the information when the honorable member asked the question, what happened? And we have made it clear that immediately when the project did not go as expected, we immediately embarked on the investigation. It is not on his own accord. And the matter which is now part of the law enforcement officers, it is beyond us. The matter has been handled accordingly. Because the DA is always grandstanding that the ANC do nothing about corruption. But this is a clear case where the ANC said, where the money of the public, where the monies are missing, an action has to take place, an investigation has to go or has to unfold. So this be political science under a particular member in his other life. And I think that is correct. And actually it is a right thing that he's never been a scholar of political science, because he's a scholar of what is relevant for him in the portfolio that he's doing. The economy does not need political analysts. The economy needs commerce graduates like Honorable Meko is. That is why we are confident that our economy is in the right hands. I thought this debate about the irrelevance of some of the doctorates which are not necessary to the economy, I thought we've buried it last year, but it appears that we will never close it. But Honorable Speaker, today our people are still in the same revolutionary path towards attainment of national democratic society, in which men and women can, among other objectives of the NDS, can live in harmony and prosperity. Indeed, Honorable Speaker, our 1994 breakthrough into democratic era has contributed immensely towards the expedition of the national democratic revolution, in that it has placed the democratic government elected by the people to lead the country in the right direction, guided by the will of the majority, as opposed to the previous regime in which the minority rule prevailed over the will of the majority. The democratic dispensation has enabled the ANC government of the people to effect policy and legislative frameworks that have made it possible to dismantle the discriminatory economic architectures and injustices. Honorable Speaker, we all acknowledge that the damage caused over centuries cannot be reversed in a mere period of 3 decades. However, our people appreciate and are grateful for the hard work of the ANC in leading them to the promised land of economic freedom. And the current budget by Honorable Meko symbolizes the commitment of the ANC government to defeat inequality, poverty, and unemployment. The budget reaffirms the fact that despite some of the challenges encountered, the ANC remained the leading force for change in the country and carries the hopes and aspirations of our people to realize objectives of national democratic revolution. Hence, the task of the ANC is clear, that our people must be afforded an opportunity to unleash their potential and capabilities to liberate themselves economically. But ba habo rona ba batla ho iketsetsa le ho itshwarela ka matsoho a bona, hobane ba a tseba hore mphemphe ya lapisa e tswe motho o kgonwa ke sa hae. Our people are always ready and eager to work for themselves and not to receive the handouts. Therefore, the emphasis of the MEC on intensifying and enabling conducive environment for business and entrepreneurship in the province is a sweet melody in the ears of our people. And on the access to market, Speaker, the conducive business environment means, among others, that there must be access to the markets, including the mainstream ones. We'll never tire from reminding the private sector that they must also come on board and create opportunities for small businesses, particularly the black businesses. Many businesses are struggling to survive because the private sector is keeping lucrative opportunities to themselves and not opening up for the small businesses. And this matter is quite urgent, and this cannot and must never be allowed, because economic transformation is actually and in fact needed in the private sector. The fact that our people are only left with government for business opportunities must change with immediate effect, because 90% of the provincial GDP takes place in the private sector. And we appreciate the efforts, Honorable Meko, of facilitating production capacity of the province by increasing number of participants, specifically in the production sector. And the partnership between the provincial government of the Free State, led by the Premier, and various sitters is very much welcomed, and it will support and come very handy on your journey, Honorable MEC, because the ANC in its resolution on the skills for economy correctly states that interventions to boost the skills must be based on the principles of lifelong learning and keeping pace with technological advances, and must respond adequately to ongoing changes in work, production, and industries. And the most important part is that the same skills program must be integrated in the developmental agenda and the needs of the economy. And the access to funding, we welcome the partnership you'll have with NEF, because the issue of funding has been a serious barrier for our people. And we further welcome the issue of enterprise support, because the support for businesses goes beyond just a workshop or a training, but it must be a continuous program which also has some expertise that are needed for the businesses of our people. Honorable Member, and the ANC government to ensure that we bring the necessary facilities for connectivity and connecting with the world. And the fact that the hub has already produced our own Take a Lot, or this online commerce owned by young black people, it's a demonstration that is bearing the fruits. Honorable Speaker, this is an opportunity and the moment for South Africa as a democratic state to create our economy, as the President of the country has said in the preamble of the Economic Reconstruction and Recovery Plan document, where he says, we are determined not merely to return our economy to where it was before coronavirus, but to forge a new economy in a global reality. And this envisaged vision is indeed justified, because correctly so, the ANC in its conference resolution, the 55th conference resolution on the economic transformation, characterized the economy of South Africa that South Africa has inherited the economy with entrenched features of structural fragmentation and inequality resulting in colonial and apartheid periods. Therefore, the ANC is in support of this budget vote, as it reaffirms the commitment of the Congress of the People that the people shall share in the country's wealth, which seeks to ensure that, among others, all the industry and trade shall be controlled to assist the well-being of the people so that they can enjoy the true freedom. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable MEC. The Honorable MEC Meku may now reply to the debates.
Speaker, thank you very much. when I'm far away and my 5-year-old daughter, Aunale load shedding, especially Anna Kopana Leona for the first time, she says to me, Daddy, there's a problem. Wait along. No, Auna the lights. So no, why? I don't know, Daddy, there's no energy. 5-year-old. The doctor does not understand an apple and a fruit. And the doctor wishes that he has taught me. I'm a graduate of a BCom degree in economics, not at yours, in a university in Gauteng. There's nothing wrong with yours. The problem is a doctor who can undertake basic distinctions that my 5-year-old can. And our people must take you serious. And you tell them or vote TA will bring you solutions, you think that they are going to take you serious. For a record, there are many educated people here. I've got about 8 doctors in the department of this year or so, and they advise me properly. I don't know what yours has produced here. They must tell us. Honorable Kluti, re tlohelle ka Marx ka Freedom Charter ka Mandela. Ha o bina ka Tilarey ha ona motho a buang. He is your hero. Stay with him. We have our own heroes. And we will embrace them forever. Karl Marx was a doctor like you. It is appreciated the global world all over because of his thinking. We're embracing his ability that I'm actually watch. Or as a philosopher, he appreciated interpret life. But then he brought about a clarity of thought. Every civilization today from 18-something to help us resolve complex issues of the economy. He's the same as Kwame Nkrumah, same way as Mandela, same way as Chris Hani. We embrace their ability to diagnose properly our problems and the production of thinking that is scientific on a thumbs up. That's why we're embracing them. And that's why we will forever borrow from them. Because they exhibited an extraordinary type of thinking. And it doesn't say the world will not produce such today. And there are still many which we appreciate. Thanks, Honorable Makano, to deal with the issue of the energy crisis. We did touch on it, including the issue of corruption. The ANC is on record. Harea rumela motu ayeka ramuso aluzo chelete ya muso. ANC resolution. It's our DNA. Except that, the rule of law must take its course. We're not going to be populist and say, hey, who to is hurry? Nalemolao South Africa. And we chose a constitutional democracy. The ANC doesn't hate the private sector. That's why we spoke about, the core for our speech was as well investment over and above the approach which we want to emphasize the value chain. From the private sector, from national and international. It is our analysis. Our tools to create and we did make here the context. Context is that the South African character, constitutional democracy character, we are a mixed economy. We appreciate the role of the private sector, and government has got to regulate. We did say in the process, government will also undertake certain projects to intervene, to be able to come closer to attending to immediate challenges. And that's why we said, let charity begins as home. 1994 up until now, government have been doing interventions. Can't apply the same mechanism to the same problem. You won't yield a different result. We said, let's think differently. Concept here is not a new discovery, but let's overemphasize, let's deepen it. Or government, how does it more? Ha MEC Mahlati alo a school ko Fijo school. We must ask a question, an economic question. Sitina se u di festeretse u dira ka kae? Can't we take a decision as a department and help those? Batla etsang gore no ha tsela ha ba fana ka ditina o talking all of these implements. There's nothing wrong. We're not contradicting any law. We're saying that investment in the years, they were standalone. They were not interrelated or interlinking. And as a result, but are depend on the market. And the market is ruthless and is not friendly, especially for such interventions. For the past 3 years, the department has achieved, and by the way, Speaker, to lie in the sitting of the legislature is unparliamentary. For the past 3 years, we had a qualified audit report. The 2 years of that 3, we had only 1 paragraph. And it was on the basis of the prepayments of enterprise. And I said to the team of the department, it's a good problem. Let's deal with it in terms of our own supply chain requirements and internal controls. But we can never say, AG, let's stop over to the SMME in the context of our program enterprise development. What type of government will we be? We exist for the people, to help our people, especially in the space, say, economy, very complex and difficult. And that's why it's important issues of support. We've announced about a 5-year program, 500 million training to teach our people. Otherwise, if it's into the new entrance, I don't understand why you are excited to embrace capitalism. Essentially, our struggle against apartheid was also the struggle against the brutality of a system called capitalism, which prioritizes profit over the social welfare of the people. You come here and you are proud to have been elected and you say, I don't care. These people can be exploited for as long as these organizations which I represent in parliament buys a profit. That's what you are saying to our people, and you think they are stupid, go vote DA. You said that. And you said, capitalism 101. I'm glad you didn't teach me. Let me tell you what political economy has taught me. I was fortunate when I was doing economy. I met intellectuals who believed in political economy. Equal distribution of economic resources to all the people. You can't wish that people must starve and be denied access to all these important economic commodities that must sustain their life. And you stand there proud to, yeah, we don't want to know about capitalist 101. We are engaging, by the way, for your information, all the business people. And say, remember you are a business person in South Africa, not anywhere else. We have a particular history in this province. And it is from that history where people were systematically excluded from both participation and as well as benefiting from the economy. Help us. We recognize your role. We don't hate you. We don't have a problem as you hate the poor. And we'll continue to engage them. And that's why our speech also was very emphatic around the issue of investment. And lastly, we said we've engaged Machabe, we've engaged Mukaka yesterday. We're continuously going to engage municipalities, play a role, help us to activate the economics in your areas. It's not a new discovery that we not. That's why part of our mechanism is that we are going to help them to draw their local economic incentives policy consistent with the province and that of national. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable MEC. The reply by the Honorable MEC concludes the debates on vote 3, economic, small business development, tourism and environmental affairs. Honorable members, that brings us to the end of the business of the House today. But before the House adjourns, I wish to make the following announcements: that honorable members and guests should remain in their seats at their allocated seats as they are sergeant at arms and the Honorable Speaker and the Secretary leaves the House. That the guests should remain at their allocated seats while honorable members leave the House. That all guests are invited for lunch. And now the House shall adjourn until Wednesday, the 3rd of May, 2023, at 10 o'clock at Lirila Tuto Secondary School, Zastron, and the business of the House shall include the consideration of the following budget votes: Vote 9, Public Works and Infrastructure, and Vote 10, Community Safety, Roads and Transport. This House is adjourned. Thank you, honorable members.